Hello everyone, welcome back to another Plan With Me video. So today I'm going to set up my June spreads and I'm doing another painting, which you can see I did a little sketch in Procreate first, and I wanted to use some colored inks this time because I recently bought them and I just couldn't wait to try them out. So as always, I'm going to leave all of my supplies that I used this month in the description. And I'm starting off by just outlining the mountains and the paths that you saw in my sketch first, just so that I have a general shape to work with. Now, I had to learn this through just kind of trying it out, but colored inks are much like watercolor in that they're not super opaque, so they don't really cover up what you already put down, if that makes sense. For me, that just meant that I had to be a bit more careful about where I'm putting the colors, especially compared to working with acrylics, which are very opaque, so it was definitely a learning process this time. I actually had a few attempts before this painting, but I'm really happy with the end result, so I guess it was worth the struggle. As you can see, I painted the sky first, and to do that I just put a layer of water onto the parts that I wanted to color, and then I created a gradient, which worked really well. Just like with watercolor, as you can see, the colors blend really nicely. So yeah, I wanted this scene to be kind of like a sunset-ish color scheme, and then later on I added some poppy flowers on the field below. So to keep these spots like bare, I'm using this kind of like masking liquid pen, which is basically a form of latex that you can apply with either this kind of pen or a brush, and it basically keeps any paint from the spots where you put it, so it's especially useful for watercolors or inks where it's kind of harder to cover something up, just like I mentioned before. And then next up, I focused a bit on the mountains, which I ended up going back and forth to kind of build up the color a bit. I just mixed up a light purple with a bit of yellow added, just so that it kind of desaturates it. So yeah, and then I just quickly painted like the basic shade of the path. I used this kind of desaturated brown tone just because I wanted to make sure the masking liquid was fully dry before I actually painted the field. So then here I'm first creating some bushes in the back and using a lighter green shade for the field itself. I ended up making everything a bit darker than I originally anticipated, but I think it actually works pretty well since there wouldn't be that much light in this time of day anyway. After that, it's basically just some back and forth, adding layers of paint, and for the grass I'm making a lot of upward strokes, as you can see, so it actually looks like grass, and it also gives it some more dimension, so I went in with a few layers to really build up those shades. I also tried to kind of blend it into those bushes in the back as well, so there wouldn't be a harsh edge. Once I was happy with everything else, I'm starting to remove the masking fluid, so here I'm just using the back of my brush. You could also use your finger, but I would definitely recommend in general not pressing too hard so that you don't accidentally rip up the paper. So yeah, just take your time with it. Then I mixed up a pretty saturated kind of dark red for the poppies. Honestly, they could probably be any kind of flower, but I like the idea of poppies, so that's what we're going with. But anyway, I tried to stay within the white spots, but these inks do tend to dry a bit darker around the edges, so you'll see that when it's all finished. But I actually don't mind it, so I think it turned out pretty good. Lastly, I just used my favorite white gel pen to add a sun or maybe a moon, not quite sure, in the center of the sky, which I think pulled it all together. After everything was completely dry, I'm just peeling off the washi tape that I used, and yeah, that's the finished painting. I hope you like it, and here's a bit of a close-up. So as per usual, I made some prints that I'm going to be using in my bullet journal, and I actually think they turned out pretty great, so I love that you can actually see the texture of the paper in the print. And yeah, if you want to get any of my stickers, I have an Etsy shop, and I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check them out. Now let's actually get into the planning portion of this video. I wanted to show you a quick flip through of my May setup, just because it's probably one of my favorite themes I ever did. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to coming up with new themes in the future. So if you have any suggestions, definitely leave me a comment. I'd love to see what you think. But anyway, for the cover, I'm rounding off the two right corners of the print, and for some reason I struggled quite a bit to stick it to the page this time, but eventually I did manage it. So yeah, next I'm using these two shades of markers for a mini calendar on the left page. In general, I didn't really have much of a plan for this setup, so I ended up just trying a bunch of stuff. Here I'm writing a quote that says, "Nothing great has ever been accomplished without enthusiasm," and I used one of my small stickers as well as some doodles just to kind of decorate the page. I'm also adding a border using those two colors, but since I felt like the whole page was a bit unbalanced, I also wrote "Bye May" and "Hello June" on the top and the bottom. And yeah, I think that made it look a lot better. But yeah, that's my cover page all done. So next up, I immediately forgot to press record, but I just made another calendar just to kind of plan things like Instagram posts and stuff like that. Right next to it, I'm using another sticker and writing June as a title just to kind of fill in that space, and then I'm also adding the key for my calendar, so I just assigned some different colors for each thing that I want to track. Underneath that, I'm making the usual planning sections. If you've seen my last video, I pretty much did the same exact layout. So there's a task section, some space for my work-related stuff, a note section, and then also a goal section. And I'm just decorating a bit with my markers. On the other page on the top, I'm also adding a YouTube and Instagram growth tracker. By the way, we're almost at 700 subscribers, which is kind of crazy to me, so thank you so much for your support. Here I'm rounding off the corners of one of these stickers to use as a title, so I'm making some habit trackers on this page, and then I'm adding another reminder to not rush things and just to take it easy, which I think we could all use sometimes. And yeah, underneath that I'm using the same style of habit trackers that I usually go for. So it's basically the shape of the calendar, and I can fill out a space for each day. I'm actually not very good at tracking my habits. I keep forgetting about them, to be honest, but I still think they can be a useful tool, so I include them anyway. Oh, and just as a side note, sorry about the weird shadows. It was really windy the day I recorded this, so the trees outside my window were kind of moving around a whole lot, so that's why you can see it there. And then lastly, I'm writing another little quote on the bottom that says, "The most effective way to do it is to do it." And I very much agree with that, so yeah. Anyway, that's it for these pages, and let's move on to my weekly spread. So again, I didn't really have a plan, and I'm actually not sure if I like this one, but I wanted to do a layout with like round days. So as you can see, I'm using the markers first. I'm just alternating between the two colors so that I kind of know how large the circles are going to be. And then I used a Muji like gel pen to draw some poppy flowers along those edges, which I think looks pretty cute. So yeah, let me know if you like this style. I'm still a bit undecided, but anyway, on the bottom left I'm adding a little hydration tracker, which I personally find more useful at the moment than like a monthly water tracker, just because I end up not using those. Then I'm also adding a little Etsy shop section and a note section on the right page, as well as a sticker just to kind of tie it into the theme. And yep, that's it. It was a really quick one to make, so yeah. Here's a little flip through of my June spreads. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you, and yeah, I hope I'll see you again in my next video. Bye!